You're listening to WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
Check, check, 1, 2. Look like a little country, some rock and roll and blues. 'Cause we sure love playing for good people like you. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1, 2.
Welcome to Music Local and Sustainable, the radio show that features discussions with and the music of local musicians. I am your host, Dave Lake. Tonight, we are talking with Markus Kuhlmann. Markus is probably best known as a member of John Waite's band, Waite's and Company, or Corey Campbell's band, Nightingale News, or his own band, Clouds and Satellites. But in tonight's conversation, we'll probably discover some things you might not know. Welcome to Music, Local and Sustainable, Markus Kuhlmann.
All right, thank you.
So why don't we start by having you trace your musical journey?
Definitely my mom, big, huge influence. She was a music major in college and, was very musical ever since she was a little girl. And she is a piano teacher. And so I took piano early. I probably started in kindergarten. Definitely by first grade I was playing. And I was pretty quick at it. I mean, I always sang along with the radio and Casey Kasem's top 10 on whatever the videos were out of the day. I took piano until about probably the 10th or 11th grade. For some reason, I was convinced that playing piano wasn't cool, when it totally is cool. But in high school, you don't see past the bridge of your own nose. And so I quit taking piano, but I had started playing drums probably in the 6th grade. Really liked that. I think the thing that turned me off with piano lessons was that it was more like just, we're going to take a classical piece of music and just learn it, which is fine. It's just, as a kid, that wasn't what I was into. And I wanted to learn whatever Billy Joel song I happened to be listening to at the time, or Elton John. I always wanted to do cool rock and roll stuff. So that's probably what threw me off of the piano lessons, but drums, I took to it whole hog. So played those, but never really played in bands in high school. I think I was scared, nervous, just didn't want to commit to that, putting yourself out there. So went to college at Clemson, got my first guitar Christmas of my sophomore year. So I didn't start playing guitar until 18 or 19 years old. But had a couple guys on the hall with me and at Clemson that played. Picked that up pretty quickly, but drums was always my main thing. Started playing in bands in college. I got serious about it probably in 2000. Started playing in a band with Eric Britt of American Hologram. But we were in a band called, I think, Jumbo Wood at the time. Horrible band name in Charleston. And then after that kind of ran its course, we reconfigured. I stayed with Eric, and then we named ourselves Hazel Virtue. And so that band was based in Charleston, then based here in Savannah. Along the way, I picked up a mandolin, harmonica. When you know a guitar, you can play the bass. So I'm pretty lucky in that, I've kind of taken to a lot of the rock and roll instruments, and I'm kind of a pinch hitter in a lot of ways, which is great, and it keeps things interesting for me. Just musical family, especially my mom. We always did stuff at church. I was in the handbell choir with her. I sang in the chorus. And just been lucky to play with some really good, talented people. After Hazel Virtue, I started playing with Jason Bible and Eric Dunn. So we started the Trainwrecks probably a decade ago now. Eric's now in Velvet Caravan. He's no longer in the Trainwrecks either. Bible is still keeping the Trainwrecks going. But yeah, it's just been really lucky to fall in with really good musicians, really good songwriters, and then bands that are good live. And so it's something that I love. I've gone through periods of time where all I did was music, playing 8 or 9 gigs a week, and it takes a toll on your lifestyle, so I kind of scaled it back. But it's fun. I've got that outlet. There's never a week that goes by that I'm not playing a gig somewhere, and at least one. Some weeks, even now, 4 or 5 or 6 gigs, and it's great. I love it.
So you started while you were in college up at Clemson, and got into bands full-time down in Charleston?
Charleston, yeah. So I went to Clemson undergraduate and graduate. Undergrad was like 89 and 93. Graduate was 97 and 99. And I played guitar in a bluegrass band. We were pretty terrible. Didn't get many gigs. Went away from Clemson for a couple years to work, came back for grad school, worked a couple years before I got into grad school. started playing with a band there that actually, the song Forever Framed, E.J. Wynn wrote the lyrics to that, and he was a buddy of mine back at Clemson. And that was kind of the first real band that I had, that we were writing songs and we were rocking out. We didn't play out a ton, but that's kind of where I really started to cut my teeth, is being a member of a band and rehearsing all the time and getting your own original material down. Well, this one's called Forever Framed. Thank you, E.J., for the lyrics.
Get closer to your heartbeat and take it tight this time. Make every second from now part of your new grapevine. Rest not until you're planted strong enough all around. Forever framed. I miss you. I won't forget your name. I'll be here until you come again. I miss you. We never finished our game. Forever framed. Started space grooving ahead of all the rest. You picked up on my karma. We worked it out the best. Some friends last just for weekends. Some outlast all big names. Forever framed. I miss you. I won't forget your name. I'll be here until you come again. I miss you. We never finished our game. Forever framed.
E.J. Wynn from Clemson wrote the lyrics to this one, too. This is another oldie, but goodie. This one's called Sometimes You're Wrong.
Standing like you're a mountain, forever hard to knock you down. I don't miss you, 'cause I still got you. I can't find a way to let you out. And pure water can't cure your thoughts now, and nobody will take you away here even though sometimes you're wrong. No words changed, mine with comfort. See your face and straighten eyes. Pure pain won't set you free. Your own story and jaded lies. Pure water can't cure your thoughts now, and nobody will take you away here, even though sometimes you're wrong. No words changed, mine with comfort. I see your face and straighten eyes. Oh, pure pain won't set you free. Your own story and faded lies, and pure water can't cure your thoughts now, and nobody will take you away here, even though sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you're wrong.
Yeah, Clemson is kind of where I started, though, for sure.
And when you moved on to Charleston, you hooked up with Eric Britt.
Yeah, it was like the first week that I got there. Mutual friend of EJ's, actually, from Clemson. He was living down in Charleston. He's like, yeah, actually, I know this band that needs a drummer. So within a week of moving to Charleston, I was a member of Jumbo Wood with Eric Britt and a couple other cats from down in Charleston. And that one really took off. We started getting gigs. We started playing a lot in Charleston. We won Best Band in Charleston. Their Connect magazine up there is called the City Paper, and they had the same kind of best of, where the constituents vote for whoever they want. The manager of the band and the manager's brother was a guitar player in the band, but they were knee-deep in Charleston. They lived there all their lives. So we didn't stuff the ballot box, but we definitely had a very good advantage. So we won it 2 or 3 years in a row, and it was great. And so Eric and I, back then, we were hanging out every day. We were writing songs. We were behaving sometimes. It was a really cool time. It was exciting for me because I'd never been in something that was that sustainable and fairly successful and had artistic merit and still rocked. So it was great. And Charleston was kind of where I really started to get a feel for this whole rock and roll thing.
And then that band broke up?
The manager and his brother, we were at odds. Being in a band can be tough and stressful. It should be fun, but at the same point, it is a business. And there are egos and personalities involved. So it's always a tough thing. I kind of liken it. I've said it before, but it's like being married, but without the makeup loving. If you're mad at somebody, you come back tomorrow, it's like, I'm still mad at you. And there's no way to really just work it out unless you got really good open lines of communication, which musicians aren't famous for. But yeah, so that band broke up, but Eric and I still played together, so we wound up getting a couple other musicians. A friend of mine from Charleston came down. We even had a rapper for a while, which was an interesting experiment. It wasn't like Limp Bizkit at all, but it was cool. He did some cool freestyle stuff. And yeah, so then from there we renamed it Hazel Virtue, and then that one kept going too. We played throughout the Southeast. Yeah, that was great. And that just kind of petered out eventually, probably 7-8 years ago. And Eric Britt has kept on playing. He's still playing all the time. I saw him last night at Barrel House South. I was playing at the Jinx of Nightingale News. We were right next door to each other doing our thing.
You've mentioned that you started with piano, and around town, I've seen you perform on the drums. For instance, Nightingale News, you're the drummer. Also the drummer in your own band, Clouds and Satellites. But then you do mostly rhythm and lead guitar with John Waits.
Yeah, like background vocals, blowing harp, playing harmonica. Yeah, and a lot of lead stuff. It's great. It keeps things fresh and new. I love it. I love having different roles in different bands. It's great.
Although you started on the piano, I don't remember ever seeing you around town on keyboards.
No, not too much. Piano's a great instrument. It's a great instrument to start on because visually, it's half steps, whole steps. It all makes sense in a linear fashion when you're looking at the keyboard. And I kind of neglected piano keys for a long time. If I ever needed a piano part, I would just learn that part for my song, record it. But most of the instruments I'm really comfortable with. Piano, especially playing live, I'm not sure if I'm not going to make a mistake. I'm not as well practiced on the piano, so I do it every now and then. There's a few songs that I really just bore down on, rehearsed them, learned them. But it doesn't happen often because usually I am playing either guitar or drums, and so I've already got a role to fill. I've been lucky that in the bands that I've been playing with, there's usually been somebody who is either a primary keyboard player or would swap off from guitar or bass and play keys. So my meager skills have not been needed as much on keys, but I do love it. I love playing piano. It's fun. It's great.
And you say you've also played bass guitar.
Yeah. And bass guitar is essentially the 4 lower notes of a regular guitar. So, there's different, like slapping and popping and stuff like that. I don't do. I'm not flea at all. But if you're a guitar player, you can pretty much go over to bass and make a go of it. It helps out for recording, Everybody's got schedules. The older we get, the more complicated life and your time, how you use your time in it becomes. And so a lot of times on the songs that I record, I'll play as many instruments as possible, just for the sake of time. And I already know the songs. It's not like we have to practice it, and then they've got something to listen to kind of catch the song, and then when we rehearse it out, and then it becomes a different thing live. But yeah, bass has been great too. I love it. I do love it.
In your solo work, you tend to regularly switch between the guitar and the mandolin.
Yeah. And not as much on the mandolin. I think in the bigger shows that you've seen me at, the really cool stuff like the Trinity United Methodist Church and their whole concert series, which is awesome. I love it. Tybee Post Theater is another great institution, really. I mean, that place is beautiful, the renovation. Technically, it sounds great and it looks beautiful. At those places, I try to mix it up, and I definitely practice on the mandolin. Mandolins are a nightmare to keep in tune, so playing it live is a struggle. So I break it out every now and then, but mostly I'm on acoustic guitar.
What's the joke about the mandolin? Something to the effect of half the concert you spend tuning and half the concert you spend playing out of tune.
Exactly. Or I've even heard, you spend 95% of your time tuning it and 5% actually playing it, and then just hoping that A string doesn't go out, and it always does.
In concert, to switch it up, how do you make the decision which instrument to use?
At Tybee Post Theater, I played a couple songs that I didn't do on mandolin at Trinity. It's kind of cool because you do see some of the same faces at both of those places, yours included. And so I kind of just wanted to take different songs and just arrange them in a different way. So it's part of it is for the people that have seen me a few times to keep things fresh for them and to keep things fresh for me. It's a challenge. Some of the transpositions between guitar and mandolin, I kind of have to rethink because I'm not a really skilled mandolin player either. I'm mostly open chords. But yeah, it's just kind of how I feel at the time. a lot of that was game time decision at Tybee Post Theater. I didn't know in the second set what songs I was really going to play. I had 4 or 5 out there that I thought, yeah, I'm going to do 2 out of these 4 or 5. And then just kind of how I felt at the time is the ones that I picked.
Switching from one band to another band,
Mm-hmm.
what are the differences that you find playing in the different bands?
I guess the main thing is like with Waits & Co., they're all John songs. And he drives a lot of the social presence of the band, the imagery of the band, what gigs we play. He does 99% of the booking. Waits & Co. is great for me because there isn't that pressure of all the other stuff. And so I kind of come in, and he's a very classic songwriter, so it's a lot of major key kind of stuff, really satisfying kind of classic chord structures, song structures. That gives me the freedom to just kind of solo like a madman. And I love it. I've gotten so much better in the 3 or 4 years maybe that John and I have been playing, and my guitar playing, both in the intricacy of the things that I do rhythm-wise and my soloing, has just grown by leaps and bounds. And it's not like I'm a baby at this, with neurons connecting. I'm an old dog at this, and I feel like I'm learning and I'm getting better at the guitar. Coy is kind of the same way with Nightingale News. He drives the band. It's his songs. And so it's more, I just kind of show up, put myself, either background vocals, drumming, make myself fit into these songs. He's got a record out now called Bell Rope that is just beautiful. I didn't play on it, but it is recorded really well, and it's really intimate. But when we go out and play the Jinx, a lot of those nuances get lost, so I'm just kind of taking it to a rock and roll place. But yeah, the pressure's off as far as booking the band and the direction of the band and how that works. But with Clouds and Satellites, it's my baby. Mine and Tim's. It's really democratic. We've got 4 members that are permanent. We've got a guy that I work with over at the Coffee Fox who's a keyboard player, and he plays with a band called McLeod, and they're great. So we're working him in. But that one, I've got more of the pressure to write songs, to get merch, to get bookings, to push the social presence. And that's why we don't have much of a social presence, probably, because I'm not as attuned to that, to put everything that we do out online. And I'm just going to have to bear down and do it, because I think that's the way that you kind of can get more people involved and interested, and then the gigs will start to come a lot more. I love all 3. Certainly I'm most invested in Clouds and Satellites from an artistic standpoint, but they're all different and beautiful in their own way. So it's been great. I love it.
When you're out on a gig, how do you combine original music with covers?
When I do Clouds and Satellites as a duo with my good buddy Tim Warren, we'll throw out a lot of covers. Clouds and Satellites. Played the Jinx the other night, and we did almost 3 hours and no covers whatsoever, all originals. We got 4 songwriters in that band, 3 different lead singers. It's the band I've always wanted to be in as far as that's concerned. So it's great having everybody contributing to the songwriting process. So there's times that we don't do any covers. Waits & Company, I think we've got 3 or 4 covers that we do on a regular basis, but the rest is all John stuff. With Coy's band, I don't think I've played a cover with him yet. But the thing is I love covers. I play other people's songs all the time. I find that I can tap into that emotion really well without feeling kind of embarrassed or shy about actually having my own sad music out there, but I can really latch on somebody else's sad music and take it to cool places that feel really satisfying to me. So if you see me solo, you're probably going to get a lot of covers. And I don't think that's a bad thing one way or the other. When I do covers, I try to pick stuff that's fairly obscure, not necessarily esoteric. Some of them are. Talked about covers and how much I do love to do them, especially ones as pretty as this one. This is almost a cover of a cover. The original song is by a gentleman named David Bazan, who fronted the band Pedro the Lion, old kind of indie emo band from the late 90s, early aughts. I saw a in-studio thing, kind of like what we're doing here today, of the tallest man on earth, brilliant musician from Sweden. He's not very tall either, ironically or coincidentally. He did a in-studio over at KEXP in Seattle that you can look up. It's got video and beautiful audio. It's from, I think, 2011 maybe. But this song is called Lost My Shape. It's just beautiful. I hope to do it justice, but here it goes.
Used to feel like a smoker, shivering in the cold, waiting outside the bar till the opener's over. But now you feel like a drinker who's 20 days off the sauce, down at the liquor store, trying to call up your sponsor. Used to feel like the forest fire burning. Now you feel like a child, throwing tantrums for your turn. Speak like a prophet, and everyone wanted to know how you could still tell the truth without losing that soft glow. And now you feel like a salesman closing another deal, or some drunk ship captain raging after the white whale. Used to feel like the forest fire burning. Now you feel like a child, throwing tantrums and then some. Used to feel like the prodigal returning. Now you hate what you've made, and you want to watch it burn. And you want to watch it burn.
I am older, so the things that I listen to, I've got a lot of 80s and 90s stuff and a lot of classic rock. And I actually grew up when radio was a thing, and you would sit and wait and hope to hear your song come up that you've been waiting all day for. So I do love playing other people's songs, but I think it's the view of the public and the media and everything out there it's a lot better, and it's a lot more artistically satisfying when you're doing your own stuff. And I feel more comfortable doing that in a band setting, I think. And so I think that's why a lot of the band stuff is mostly original.
In talking with Eric Brett, his previous experience in other towns, the musicians had pretty much been in a band, where here musicians switch bands and rearrange all the time.
All the time. Nightingale News has been in like the past 6 to 8 months. It's me and Coy, Stu from the Trainwrecks, who I absolutely adore as a human being, and it just is really cool that he's one of the best guitar players I've ever heard. Rachel Shaner, I don't know if you've talked to her yet. She's great. She's a guitar player, but mostly you probably know her from upright bass, and she's fantastic. The gig we played last night, due to prior commitments, it was a last-minute booking. We had 2 completely other players in Nightingale. Devin Smith, who plays in a bunch of different bands as well. He's got Garden Giant. He was in General O and the Panhandlers back in the day with Anna Chandler. He does a cool video thing called House Show for One, Volition Studios. You should definitely check that out. Waits and Company has shot a video. He goes and sets up video and gets one song down, and they're recorded immaculately, and it's all done in high def. I think a lot of the people that you've talked to have episodes. So for the public out there, it's a pro tip. Go check that program out. Yeah, there's a lot of hotshot players that travel around. Rachel does it all the time as well. She's in 3 or 4 bands. I've got 3 right now. I'm actually got a one-off punk band with Keith Kozel and Kevin Rose, who runs Elevated Basement here in town. We're called Shoplifter. So we're practicing for a quick 20, 25-minute punk set. There's a big festival coming up at the beginning of July Dad Joke, I think, put that together. There are a bunch of really good players in town that are not scared to book themselves with whoever's available, and I think it's awesome. There's a really good community of musicians out there. There's kind of the older guard, myself, the Trainwrecks, Eric Britt, Bottles and Cans, Culberson, Hitman, some of the blues guys. We've just been playing around all the time, and you'll see a lot of the same players in all of those bands at one time or another. A really good community, and it's really cool that people can just kind of hop around and have a good time.